For more on U.S. China trade tensions, let's welcome Max Baucus. He is former U.S. ambassador to China in the Obama administration. Of course, he also served as U.S. senator from Montana. And Ambassador Baucus, thanks for being here. What do you think so far?
Becky?
Things escalated over the weekend and then calmed down a bit on Sunday as President Trump seemed to indicate that there is some potential movement between the two sides. Where do you think we stand?
Well, I think there are probably some pretty good deals at Costco. Getting that mount tie was probably a good thing to do. Frankly, I kind of chuckle whether President Trump wants Costco to come back to U.S. too. I don't think so. Costco is doing pretty well in China. No, I think, frankly, we're kind of a lull here. To be honest, I think that the Chinese are beginning to take Trump's measure. They see him flailing about. They see him ordering corporations to leave China. He's attacking Fed Chairman Powell consistently. He's changing his mind a lot, and the U.S. economy is weakening. They're kind of in the driver's seat. At least they think so at this point. I think, at least when I was over there and served in China, when I talked to my Chinese friends, it's still the same. The Chinese respect strength more than any of the people I've ever known, and they can smell weakness better than anybody else. So I think you're going to see a lull here, and to be honest, I think we're basically in a situation where Trump's got to make a decision. Does he want to do a deal or not? And if he doesn't, I think we're going to be in this situation of probably no deal until the election.
We could be in a no-deal situation, I guess, but are we going to hear all the rhetoric around that, or could it be a quiet no deal? I guess the market would differentiate between the two.
Yeah, well, my sense is that the markets are beginning to understand Trump. I hope so, because often the markets jump around way too much and they just don't settle down a little bit. But I think, frankly, they're beginning to realize that all this rhetoric from the president isn't really getting a result. However, in the back of my mind, let's not forget, Donald Trump is, in a certain sense, very smart, almost brilliant. And maybe in the back of his mind, he's going to wait a little bit. And then maybe 6, 8, 10 months from now, say, okay, let's just do a deal here. And the deal is we'll just suspend tariffs both sides, agree to a little bit of a fig leaf on structural reform in China, and then the stock market's just going to zoom up. It's going to rocket up, and it's going to maybe help him get reelected. I have a hunch that's kind of the back of his mind. He's also playing a waiting game. The question is, how long can he wait before something else goes south?
I think about this over the longer term and how corporations, executives kind of react to some of this as well. The president tweeted out that he was ordering all companies to leave, and that kicked up a lot of controversy. But in reality, companies have been looking for ways out of China since these trade talks really began, since things heated up. It's not easy to do, but a lot of them are moving their sourcing, or at least diversifying their sourcing, so they're not so heavily reliant on China. Those are the type of changes that, once they set in, don't go back. Even if there's a trade deal that comes, companies are not going to say, oh, let me get to the point where I'm 90% manufacturing in China again anyway. What are the longer-term impacts of this long trade situation?
That's very, very true. In fact, farmers will tell you they're losing market share, and they're not going to get that back, especially with the soybean producers. And frankly, some farmers are so upset that they're no longer going to support the president. It's not just farmers. It's anyone who has significant market, say in China, is going to, if that company has to leave to come back to the U.S., or most of them are not coming back to the U.S. Most are going to
Vietnam,
if not Thailand, or Vietnam or someplace, or India. They're not coming back. And this can be very, very hard to get those back. This is unfortunate, this polarization that's developing between our two countries. It's going to affect us in many ways, and the net effect is going to be a lower, on the margin, living standards than otherwise would be the case if we were robustly trading and investing with each other.
As somebody who spent a lot of time in China and has watched this relationship with the United States, obviously the trade talks are things that are probably going to drag out over a long period of time. But how do you see our relationship with China? Is this a new Cold War?
It's moving in that direction. Frankly, I don't mean to be partisan at all, but if our president, whoever he or she might
Okay, I'm just sitting here listening, Max. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, whoever he or she might be has to settle down and engage China much less publicly, seriously, and U.S. figure out, okay, with China, where's our bottom line, where's the red line, and so forth, and tell China privately that, I'm sorry, you can't go there, and know that we're backing it up too, and China knows that we can back it up. And then we're going to start to, once we settle down a little bit here, stay away from the tweets and the public denunciations. We're in a better spot. We're more likely to start getting some agreement here and a better relationship, so it's less of a Cold War.
Ambassador, even Chuck Schumer, I mean, at least gives the slightest credence to the notion that something it could have been. Maybe you don't like the tactics. Maybe you think it's going too far. Maybe you think he's in a weakened position. But that's why I was laughing at you. You're not going to be partisan. You don't see any benefit to trying to bring China into the current world order in terms of how they treat their trading partners, in terms of intellectual property, and in terms of trying to do business in that country. You don't see any benefit to trying to draw the line there, and you want to just, for the next 50 years, you want to let China behave as it has behaved for the past 50?
No. Clearly, China is a bad actor. Clearly, Trump's on the right path, but trying to bring China around. Many have said this before, but the point is, these tactics are not working. These tariffs are not working.
Well, nothing
China's
else worked.
Not doing what
and the tariffs were already. We didn't start the tariffs, and it hasn't worked for 30 years, Max. I mean, where have we gotten in the last couple of years, in the last decade or two? Decimated our manufacturing sector. They keep their currency low. I mean, there are egregious things that stealing intellectual property. What tactic has worked besides what he's trying right now? Maybe it was worth a try, even if it doesn't work.
Well, it's very difficult to deal with China because China's authoritarian, it's not democratic, and they're not transparent, and they're so large. It's very, very difficult. The best way, frankly, is talk straight with them, but also get our allies working in concert with us. We've done that in the past. When I was serving over there, again, a small example, but it was when China back in 2014 promulgated these banking guidelines, which would have, frankly, frozen all foreign companies from providing equipment to Chinese banks. We got organized. United States, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Business Council, European Chamber of Commerce, European Commission, the Cadendron in Japan, South Korea. We all were very, very firm in saying to China, don't do that. So one time I've seen China back down. They suspended the regulation. Why? Because they knew they couldn't get away with it. They couldn't divide and conquer. They faced all Western countries together. They backed down. The way to deal with China, we have to, I don't say gang up, but I'm saying you have to work in concert together to get China to do what we want them to do.
Ambassador Baucus, thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you.